Governor 𝗪𝗡𝗪, who's been a proponent of a millionaire's tax, says time is ticking and the proposed Senate Bill 6346 isn't going to work as it stands.
If adapted, it would be 9.9% tax on the income of people making more than $1 million a year.
The governor approves of an expansion to the working family's tax credit, but says it doesn't include enough people or provide a large enough rebate.
I said a significant percentage of the revenue must go directly back into the pockets of Washingtonians.
The bill would raise $3.7 billion each year for education tax relief, for small businesses, and low-income families.
Democrats were surprised by the governor's remarks. They say the proposal addresses hard hits from federal cuts and fixes a broken 90-year-old tax code while softening the burden on working people.
If this proposal passes the legislature, two more things are sure to happen. There will be a court challenge, and there will be a vote of the people on whether they think this is the right thing for them or not.
We are not interested in increasing taxes on working people, and that's why it's never happened before. And guess what? Any change to this, even reducing by $10 the threshold at which people would have to pay it, would have to go through the exact same process all over again.
Republicans are staunchly against the proposal. They say the millionaire's tax will also apply to married couples who earn $1 million a year combined, not $1 million each.
Critics of the bill say they worry an income tax could be passed on to people with lower incomes and say it would violate the state constitution.
Republicans also say the proposal amends Initiative 2111, passed in 2024, prohibiting a state income tax.
Goes to our point that this is not just intended on people who make $1 million a year. Already when they introduced the bill, it will hit people who make $500,000 a year if their spouse also makes that much. It's only a matter of time until that applies to folks with lower and lower incomes.
Washington State proposed millionaire tax. Perfect. I mean, what more could you want? First tax the millionaires, then we'll tax those making over, $400,000 and then $300,000 and then $200,000. Pretty soon we'll be taxing everybody making $1 or more. That is literally what's going on. Will it be contested in court? Absolutely. But this is that slippery slope. This is when the pot with the frog is simmering, just about on boil. If you haven't looked around, Washington State has so many things going absolutely sideways politically because that is what Democratic leadership wants. You want a state payroll tax. You want to stop sweeps of the homeless encampments. You want to put in a millionaire's tax that we're talking about today. You basically want to stop businesses from doing business in Washington State. And this is all happening as what Western Washington is having a tech meltdown with Amazon, Microsoft, and Expedia, T-Mobile firing thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Meanwhile, our elected officials are doing this kind of nonsense. Hey, let's go ahead and tax some millionaires. Let's get into it. Here we go. What could go wrong? I mean, what could possibly go wrong here, right? Washington State Democrats in the House and Senate have introduced a pair of bills to tax the state's highest earners. This is no surprise. We knew this was coming. This is literally one of those bills that it'll be bandied about, right? And it'll go through in some way, shape, or form because Washington State has some of the most crazy welfare nonsense and massive overspending, billions and billions and billions of new taxes. And you got to keep that up somehow. It's a Ponzi scheme. As you got to keep spending for all these ridiculous, nonsensical things that Washington State spends money on, you've got to have an income source. And it ain't going to be business. It ain't going to be tax-generated revenue from the excise tax of real estate purchase, because that isn't going on. It's not new businesses coming in because you are literally pushing them out. But hey, let's go ahead and propose to tax millionaires anyway. We can catch everybody else on the flip side once it goes through the state court system, which is loaded up with libtards that are okay with taxing millionaires. Senate Bill 6346 and House Bill 2724 would create an income tax for Washingtonians who make more than $1 million each year at a rate of 9.9%. You're going to go from no income tax to one of the highest income taxes out there, like that. when we're all said and done here. We've already got some of the highest housing. We've got some of the, we're top 3 continuously for highest gas prices. We've got the highest Uber delivery charges. We've got the highest Uber. We've got the highest DoorDash. We've got highest restaurants. You name it. I mean, we are neck and neck with California for just idiocy here in Washington State. That's literally, that's where we're at, and that's where we're headed. With this stuff, this is the demise of Washington. Period. Here's how it would work. First million of somebody's annual income would be deducted, and anything earned after that would be subject to the 9.9% tax. Now, I understand it's only 30,000 people, and it's going to generate, $4 billion? But what kind of message does it signal? Washington State used to be a low-tax state. That's why so many businesses came here. Hey, that's a great place to go. Oh, and they've got affordable housing. Now you don't have any of that. None of that. And you got 40 years of Democrat rule. And that's how you get ridiculous nonsense like this, because with the Democrat supermajority, Republicans really can't do anything except squawk. And you know what happened? People who squawk, well, you kind of get heard. It's like all the protesters out there on the ridiculous ICE stuff. They're kind of getting heard, but who cares? You know what I mean? Doesn't really have any real impact. It's like, yeah, whatever. If passed, the new income tax would take effect on January 1st, 2028, with the first payments due April of 2029. Now, you don't think people are going to think twice about coming to Washington State if they're going to get taxed like that? You don't think businesses with high rollers, people who make a lot of money, you don't think they're maybe going to relocate? This is absolute idiocy. But that's what you come to expect in the state of Washington is flawed mentality. And it's socialism, right? We're going to give from the rich to the poor. Oh, this is going to be great. The collective warmth of everybody chipping in. Oh, especially the wealthy. Wild stuff. This is that tipping point coming down. Plan would drastically shift Washington's tax system by creating an income tax, and it leans into the wealthiest people in the state. And they are some of the most mobile people in the state. Invariably. I mean, and you got the same thing going on in California, the billionaire tax. What do? Moving to Florida. Got same thing in New York. Proposing a bunch of taxes. What are people doing? They're leaving. Not that hard to figure out, right? Democrat leaders said it could deliver new funding for schools and health care while cutting other taxes for working families and small businesses. Good luck with that. Whatever taxes you're cutting for working families and small businesses, it's not going to make up for the differential of the wealthy that leave. Because somebody making $4 or $5 million a year, the trickle-down effect from one of those people is more than, and I'm just throwing out numbers, 20 teachers. It just is. It just is. And that's what these Democrats don't understand, is when you push out the wealthy, they're the ones who run the businesses, they're the ones who pay the vast majority of taxes, and you're going to push them out. All right, nicely done. So then you got some taxes being cut for working families and small businesses. Well, they're going to need it because as the wealthy leave, who's going to pay the taxes into covering overhead, state overhead? The people left, those who can least afford it, the middle class, the lower class. We think this is an opportunity to ask those people who are doing the best to help us. Right? By taxing them? Okay. Yeah. Hey, can you guys help us out? Nah, already have. You guys already take a huge chunk. That's why so many of us are leaving. Yeah. Help us rebalance the tax code and lighten the load of sales tax on working middle income people. You got so many social programs and nonsense and fraud and you name it loaded up in Washington State. How about instead of taxing wealthy people, how about we cut some of the budget? How about we just go and do some massive cuts to the budget of crap we don't need? That's not going to fly, Sean. We got to tax those who make over $1 million. We're seeing barely big costs pushed onto the state by the federal government. No, you're not. funded by really big tax cuts for the wealthiest people in the country. We think this is an important time in Washington to rebalance the tax code. Well, by rebalancing the tax code, you are putting more pressure on the working class. Nicely done, Socialist Washington, Socialist Seattle. Nicely done. You guys are kicking ass. Yeah, you guys are just really getting her done. Uh-huh. And you know what the wealthy people do? Bye-bye. Gotta go anywhere but Washington. Out the door. Yep, 1 foot out the door. Governor Bob Ferguson supports a millionaire tax, but not in its current form. Okay. Significant percentage of these revenues must go back into the pocket of Washingtonians. You know what? They wouldn't have to go back into the pocket of Washingtonians if by policy, if Democrat libtard policy hadn't made them so expensive in the first place. But all of the nonsense layering up into take gasoline, for example. Our cap and trade, because we're so green here in the state of Washington, makes it so expensive for our oil refineries to produce gasoline that our gas is often top 3 in the United States, and it doesn't need to be. But that is liberal policy. That is progressive green policy. Nice job. Same thing with housing. You have constricted the supply of housing. You've made it incredibly expensive to build. You've got the cost of gas. You've got everything else. You've got a bunch of tree huggers running around. And you've got some of the highest real estate in the United States. A house that Jeff Bezos sold and moved to Florida because he's a billionaire. And he said, adios, guys. That was $63 million. And he took his $1 billion in taxation that Washington wanted to stick him with, and he said, go after yourselves. I'm moving to Billionaire Island in Florida. And that's what he does. Let's see what the flip side says. Well, we got Republicans. Republicans see plenty of problems with the millionaire's tax, including the fact that income taxes go against the state's constitution. We have voted down in the state of Washington, so I think somewhere between 11 and 13 times, no. We don't want a state income tax. But you got enough blue retards here in Washington state where I could see this one going through. Oh, millionaires? Oh yeah, those people are bastards. Those millionaires, they are straight from the devil. They are Satan's spawn. That is what socialists think. Because if you look across the world, $1 million is the threshold, right? After million, tax it. Million, you don't get any benefits. $1 million, oh yeah, that's what we're doing. Representative Jim Walsh, the chair of the state Republican Party, said the proposal is an income tax with a serious constitutional defect. Well, it's not going to be after the Democrats get through with it, because they're just going to push this through, because millionaires, they're terrible people. I mean, they are defective people. You know. Key language. Senator Chris Gilden, a Republican from Puyallup. If you've never said this word, try and pronounce this word without me saying it. Pronounce that word right there. Tell me what you got. That is the most butchered name in North America for a city. Guaranteed. Oh, it's wild. Puyallup. Yeah, Indian tribe, right? He said that proposed legislation sets up a slippery slope that could open the door to imposing an income tax on everyone in the state. And that's what they're shooting for, because they need a state income tax to continue funding all of this gibberish that we don't need. Just a bunch. Think of Doge. Think of all the stuff that Doge cut out. That's what we need here in the state of Washington. That's what California needs. That's what Oregon needs. But they're all run by Democrats, so it's never gonna happen. They like to market it as a millionaire's tax, but literally it's written as a tax on everyone in our state. It just exempts the first million. Oh, and then do you think they're gonna bring that threshold down? Absolutely. So once this is enacted, it'd be very easy for them to come back with just a simple majority vote and lower that threshold to whatever they want. 200,000, 100,000, 50,000. Because we need all of you to chip in. And those not working, they need your tax dollars. So if you want to stick this one out in Washington state, along with all of the other just idiocy, I mean, I am not seeing this going in the right direction because it's not. It's just simply not. Opponents say Democrats are looking to fast track this effort despite voters rejecting income tax proposals in the past. Yeah, and that's literally what's happening. It's going to be a back and forth, but eventually, some kind of income tax will go through. Some kind of statewide employee tax will go through. Gasoline will continue to rise in price because you've constricted the ability of refineries to produce it cheaply. We've got a good oil pipeline here in Washington State, but it's layered on policy that makes everything so expensive. And that is literally laws that we've enacted just like this one. So when you collectively put that with, we've got a socialist mayor at the helm of Seattle that knows basically nothing about running anything, never run a business, never really done anything of consequence, but the constituents in Seattle said, elect her. Let's let her run it. What could go wrong? Well, this is what is going wrong. You will have a state income tax, and it will eventually include you. So if you want to stay in Washington State and take this beat down, that's your call. That is your call. But you look at collectively what's happened in 2026, and this is not looking up. This is not going in the right direction at all. And we've seen this happen in California on a much larger scale. You are seeing it happen in Oregon, super high taxation in Oregon, same exact deal. And it's because you've got politicians that won't cut anything from the budget, and instead they're just layering on taxes to increase that spending. Should work out fine, right? Should work out fine. Meanwhile, down in Texas, you've got the governor saying, hey, we need to look into welfare fraud here. Can you imagine Gavin Newsom actually doing that? Can you imagine Oregon or Washington's governors actually doing that? Oh, my word. No. So the stories that are going to come out of this are going to be numerous. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks for joining. See you in the next one. Bye for now.